All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Taylor Ann, and right now I am here with Travis Lee. He is the Maine Sportscaster of the Year. Congratulations on your accomplishment, sir.
Thank you very much, Taylor Ann.
Thank you so much for joining us. So Mr. Lee is the sports director for WMTW in Maine, and we are going to jump right into some questions with him. So first things first, how did you enter the sports broadcasting field?
Like from the beginning, or I could tell you that like I knew that with like a 65-mile-an-hour fastball, I wasn't going to make the major leagues, and at 5'9", I wasn't going to be in the NBA. So, but I liked sports as a kid, loved talking about sports, and I was like, wow, maybe I can find a job where I get paid to talk about sports. So that's kind of the path I pursued. I went to Ithaca College in upstate New York, got my first job while I was still in college at a Time Warner news station in Ithaca, and made my way to Bangor, Maine for about 9 months. And I've been here at WMTW since 2000, so over 20 years now.
Wow. Let's see. How did you juggle having a position at a news station in college at the same time?
It was a scramble, definitely. It was a Monday through Friday newscast because Ithaca is a small market, and they had a sports director that worked Monday through Friday, and I had interned there the previous year as my junior year, and then when I came back my senior year, they had created a part-time position that they offered to me as like a reporter fill-in anchor, and I took that, and that was fine because I could balance that with my school life and social life and all those things. But then when I came back from spring break at the end of my senior year, the sports director left to take a job elsewhere. And they said, well, would you like to fill in and possibly take the job? And so those last 8 weeks were probably the 8 craziest weeks of my life doing that, working full time and closing out a college career a long time ago. But that was wild. It was fun.
I cannot imagine juggling that. So more power to you. That is quite impressive. So you briefly touched on it, but can you talk a little bit about what you majored in college, just a little bit more in detail,
Sure,
how you got where you are?
I was a a journalism major with a concentration in broadcasting. Had a great experience at Ithaca, and was able to kind of, parlay that in, like I said, into the internships that I had. And, like I'd say to anyone, breaking into the business, internships are an awesome way to meet some people and network. And then on the flip side, if this business isn't for you, it's a great way to learn, hey, this isn't for me. I need to find something else, to focus my career on.
Awesome. So do you have a favorite part of your position?
I think probably like anybody, like I think in this business, you should like to tell stories, right? I think that's, when you hear a story, and you start to pursue that story, and you're working on it, and you're making calls, whether it's a feature, whether it's maybe some sort of breaking news, or whether it's anything in those departments. That's the fun part. The funnest part for me is telling stories and chasing them down, and then meeting the people and getting to tell their stories. They're in a mid-market like ours, where we're so closely situated. To Boston, we are always kind of straddling the line of, covering, Boston sports and the local high school, college stuff in our market as well. So it's fun. And there's never a day that's the same. And that's the best part, probably.
Awesome. So speaking of stories a little bit, do you have any favorite stories from your career so far?
I've been totally blessed to have come into this career in this market at a time when New England sports have been at their greatest, with 6 Super Bowl championships for the Patriots, the Red Sox. When I was a kid, the Red Sox were heartbreak was the central theme to sports in New England, and that they've won 4 World Series, and the Bruins and Celtics have won a championship in that time. You could not have picked a 20-year window all time with more success in any market, let alone, pretty much kind of outside of the market where we work in. It's been amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Is there any like cool people that you've gotten to meet along the way, or like maybe a favorite game that you've covered?
Yeah, I mean, like I think that with athletes and people, you're always walking that line of trying to be a professional, and then you have people who say, do you get to meet Tom Brady? Do you get to meet David Ortiz? And you work amongst those people, but you keep it professional, of course. What was the second part of your question there?
Why am I blanking? If you had any favorite games that
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the whole 2004 playoff run for the Red Sox was amazing. I mean, the way they came back against the Yankees, probably that Yankee series, and then the Patriots Raiders snowball game that Adam Vinatieri won with a field goal. Those are two things that stand out. Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Let's see. Do you have any maybe tips or tricks for somebody looking to improve their broadcasting abilities or public speaking abilities?
Right. That's, I think when I first got into this, coming from, going back to going into college, I thought that, because I could talk well and ad lib, and, that's just kind of my personality, that it would just be, I just do that in broadcasting. And I didn't really understand how much of what I would do would be writing. And I thought that I was a great writer. That's something in college that I've worked a lot on. And, I think with every professional, your writing ability is always evolving. And writing is just essential. It's the whole game. So write is one great way to do it. And then just watching, watching your air checks, seeing what you're doing. Sometimes that can be painful to watch your own air checks, especially earlier in your career, when you're maybe not as comfortable with who you are as a broadcaster. But watching your air checks, you learn so much from them. And, if you can get over that painful part of being like, seeing your mistakes and things like that, I think that's a real great way to improve what you do.
Awesome. So you have worked in your current position for 20 years, and that is substantial longevity for a broadcaster. Is there something about your current position that just made you want to stay with it?
Yeah, no, I think it goes without saying, if you stay in a position like this, you like the people you work with, and you feel that like you have good leadership around you. Like the people that I work with, my management team that supports me is great, and we have a good relationship, and I feel like I get great support from them. Beyond that, my wife and family support me quite a bit, because this type of business has some strange hours and strange responsibilities. And they're awesome, starting with my wife and my kids. And even I grew up in Maine, so I have family around here that is helpful, and carting kids to practices and things like that, when I can't always be there.
Definitely. All right. So you've already given us tons of advice in this interview for sure, but is there some advice that you would give to maybe a recent college graduate looking to get into your line of work?
Boy, it's so different than when I first started, because there were really the platforms, there's so many more platforms. I would say, obviously, get your foot in the door somehow. And then when you go out to cover things, just talk to other professionals, meet people, network. And I think that then you can learn a little bit more about those people, and it just enriches your life knowing more people, right? Making some connections, and that might pay off for you professionally as well.
So you mentioned the changing platforms. What's your best advice to maybe how to keep up with the ever changing platforms?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Especially for older dogs like me, maybe. It's just you kind of have to just keep it in perspective. I mean, you could sit and turn out content all day long if you wanted to, right? If you didn't want to have you have to keep sanity with your life away from work. I think that's just really what I would leave it at is, because you can pump out as much content as you want, have as many followers as you want, do all that stuff if you want to put the time in, and you come up with, creative ways to use your skills. You just kind of got to keep it into perspective, how much time is too much time, and what's the right blend for you of doing your social work versus social media work versus your maybe your website work for the company, and then doing your on-air work as well.
So I've done a few other interviews, and a little thread I noticed was that both sports broadcasters and sports writers alike talked about luck as being a huge aspect of the sports media industry. And I was just wondering if you had any little.
Oh, sure.
That.
Yeah. So, like, is in how you got a job, or how, because I think of it, there were, when I went to college, there were, 100 people in the school of the Park School at Ithaca that wanted to be sportscasters, like in each class. Mm-hmm. And how many of those ended up actually becoming sportscasters? Very few, just a handful maybe. You need some breaks. I think you kind of make your own breaks in a lot of ways that, you put into work and someone notices. If you're yourself and people like you, then, that's going to help you get some breaks. I mean, I was in Bangor, and a job opened up here at the station I work at. And there was a woman, Barbara Keltonic, who was a sales associate at this business, at WMTW. And I had babysat her son when I was in high school, and I played basketball with her husband, and she dropped me a note and said they're looking for someone. And that's kind of, so that was definitely a piece of luck that came my way, that she was on the inside and put a good word in for me and let me know the job was open. So, and like I said, I've been here for, 2 decades. So it's worked out well, that inside tip.
That really speaks well to the connections that you were talking about too. Thank you for that. I was really curious, because I had really seen luck being kind of common. A lot of it just comes up naturally in these interviews, and I was interested on your take of it. Well, that is all the questions I have for you, unless you have a little pearl.
Yeah. And the other advice is, always check your clothing. You never know. Like, I remember in my first job, I had a suit that I had worn, in college, and it was probably like 2 years after I was out of college, and I had outgrown the suit. I had gotten heavier, and so the suit just ended up in a rack. And one day I was getting ready to go and do my sportscast, and I'm in the newsroom, and I look up on the screen, and the weather guy is out there. Oh, so I forgot to tell this part. So I had to retire the suit because I'd gotten a little bigger, and there was a rip in the armpit.
Oh no!
So I'm in the newsroom waiting to go out and do my sportscast, and I look, and the weather guy is out there with a blue suit, and he's starting to do the weather, and he's got a rip in the armpit, and he had taken my old suit, and he was wearing it, but he didn't check the clothing, so he was out there, with a rip in the arm. For sports, you can kind of get away because you're not, moving your arms up and down. But when you're doing weather and you're pointing out maps.
That's too funny. Well, I will definitely make a mention.
Check your clothing, right?
Check my clothing before I go on air.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking
no problem, Taylor Ann.
Out of your busy schedule and coming to speak with us today. I hope I definitely learned something, and I know the viewers watching did too. So thank you so much to everyone who watched.
Thank you.